my sickness doesn't completely overwhelm me. And just like
we'll keep it short.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, we can do it. No worries. All right then. So I'm gonna assume that I just did a very spooky intro, and now here's my spooky intro. Ooh, shit, that doesn't work at all.
It just sounds like you're sad because you're sick.
Ooh, that's better. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Concession Stand. I'm here with Zenrod.
Hi guys, that was just the modcast intro again.
It was just the podcast. Fuck me, man. It's not my fault that podcast has put me into a rhythm. And also, I'm Wokey, and I'm today's host, because today the video is on my channel. But either way, hello and welcome everyone to what I dubbed my Spooktacular, Wokey Spooktacular. So a couple change of plans at the Spooktacular. We were originally going to talk about House or Houseu, depending on how you want to say it, because there's another movie called House. But then it turns out watching a Japanese movie with subtitles on that's extremely weird and confusing, it was very hard for Zen to actually sit down and take the time on a busy schedule. So we'll save that for another time, because he has the movie now, and I definitely want to talk about it, but we'll save that for another day. Another special day where we'll get to talk about it. And instead, we're going to cover It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, because it's super easy for us to talk about that. It's only 25 minutes long.
Yeah, it's like a 15-minute short.
Yep. Well, I saw it just like today, so it was actually like 25 minutes.
Is that sans commercials or with commercials?
I think sans commercials.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Running time, 25 minutes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be talking about that, and then we'll also talk about, because by the time I'll be releasing this, and it better be fucking Halloween when I release this, otherwise I'm gonna have some serious trouble. We'll also talk about some of our favorite Halloween movie stuff. But before we get to that, let's get to It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which if you have never seen it, you must not live in America. No offense to...
Yeah, that's not like an offensive statement, that's more of just it's on always.
I think it's played on like CBS or ABC since it's released in 1966. And that's not even...
I completely believe that, actually.
Yeah, like Peanuts shit is strong over here. Like,
well, I don't know about that. It's mostly the Great Pumpkin and the Christmas one.
I don't know. Peanuts. It's also Snoopy. Come on. There's an entire fucking theme park called Not Scary. Not
Snoopy
scary.
in general, but I don't know if Peanuts is quite the cultural phenomenon it used to be. But
I don't know, man. I see kids wearing "What's Up, Pigpen" shirts every day.
I have never seen that in my life.
I think I just created that whole vlog.
Yeah, I don't think that's real.
Alright. Well, let's get into It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I will be using Wikipedia again because It's a Great Pumpkin has plot, but it's also just a series of, like, because it's based off a comic strip, it's a bunch of, I think, comic strips that just were released at that time. So...
yeah, it has plot in, like, air quotes.
Yes, it has, like, plot. It has, like, 1966 animation plot. Anyway, we get into it. The short opens up with, like, Lucy and Linus, and they're going out to go pumpkin carving, and Linus picks out a pumpkin, and then Linus gets the pumpkin, and he delivers it all home just for Lucy to cut it up, and then maybe one of the weirdest things ever, Linus starts crying and says, "I didn't know you were gonna murder it," then runs off. And that's the opening credit, that's the opening bit. So then Charlie Brown is helping. Snoopy and Charlie Brown are like picking up the leaves, and then I'm recording. I forgot to tell my sister that we were recording. Oh, anyway. Let me get back to this. So anyway, Charlie Brown has like a bunch of leaves, and then Linus is walking. She just closed the door. She was still there.
I heard it.
God damn it. Oh, God.
Take a moment, reassess, and then we'll...
Oh, okay. So, Charlie Brown, he's breaking these leaves. And then Linus is like eating a large lollipop, and then he jumps into the leaves, and all the leaves get stuck in his lollipop. And he gets real bummed out. He's like, I shouldn't have done this. So then they move. That's the entire bit. And then it moves on to, like, Charlie Brown, and he's being, like, invited to a Halloween party. No one can believe Charlie Brown was invited because, like, everyone fucking hates Charlie Brown. And, like, Lucy says, this is a happy dance. Why would they invite you, Charlie Brown? And it's like, can you get off of Charlie Brown shit for a moment?
Yeah, it's just a sad kid.
Yeah, Charlie Brown has maybe one of the saddest existence known to man. Anyway, Linus starts writing a letter to the Great Pumpkin, which is, it's supposed to be like I think it's supposed to be like a Jesus allegory or a God allegory, Santa allegory.
It's Halloween Santa.
Yeah, it's basically Halloween Santa, and he's the only person who, like, believes in him. Like, even Charlie Brown doesn't believe him, and that's his best friend. Snoopy's laughing at him. His sister is talking shit because she's like, everyone sees me as the weirdo because you believe in the Great Pumpkin.
His sister's like the biggest bitch ever, by the way.
Yeah, if you've never seen, like, Peanuts, his sister, what the fuck is her name?
Lucy
is, like, the biggest pain in the ass in the entire, like, Charlie Brown canon. So anyway,
the Peanuts canon.
Yeah, the Peanuts canon if you count everyone. Because
GT was not canon.
Yeah, Charlie Brown GT is not counted. Charlie Brown Super, though. Super canon.
Correct.
Anyway, so he's writing this letter, and it's actually, I think, kind of funny, because at one point he's like, he writes a letter, and he's like, I don't care if, like, everyone says you're fake, but I know you're real. P.S. Don't tell me if you're fake. And so he goes out and he mails out this letter, and he's real happy about it, but, like, also he mails it and Lucy refuses to help him, but he doesn't need her because he uses his blanket and able to put the letter. Anyway, now it's Halloween night and everyone's going trick-or-treating, but they go to stop, like, they're all dressed up as ghosts as well. So they visit Linus, who's waiting in the pumpkin patch, because in the pumpkin patch, if you're really good, the Great Pumpkin will visit you and I think give you gifts. And at this point, like, Sally, who has a pretty big crush on Linus, decides to stay with him because she also ends up believing in his assertion that the Great Pumpkin will show up. So then the kids go out trick-or-treating, and they have this, just to show you how shitty Charlie Brown's luck is, even though he is a ghost and no one can tell it's Charlie Brown, he still gets 3 rocks instead of candy. He goes to 3 different houses and gets rocks.
Well, he's in, like, the shitty ghost costume that's, like, all fucked up.
Yeah, you know, to be fair, he is in the shittiest ghost costume out of all those kids.
Because he's in the one that's covered in holes, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, like, did the parents know? Did they just, like, prepare the rock for Charlie Brown?
And then, yeah, it's even more fucked up if they do know, because then they're willingly giving a child rocks. They're like, fuck this kid. Yeah. Here's a rock.
Also, fun story, when this first aired in 1966, people watched it and were actually extremely horrified what happened to Charlie Brown, to the point where they sent Charles Schultz actual candy to say, here's the candy for Charlie Brown, which he was denied.
I did not know that.
Yeah, people, let me tell you, they were not as powerful as they are once they once were, but when they were powerful, it is crazy how much people went for the Peanuts gang and everything.
Yeah, Jesus, he's a cartoon character.
Yeah. So as they're going around doing trick-or-treating, someone, like, offhandedly mentioned, what happened to the World War I ace pilot? He's like, he's probably off, like, on a mission. Cut to Snoopy on his doghouse, pretending to be a World War I air pilot hunting for the Red Baron, and his doghouse gets shot down, and he has to make it back home. This is maybe never brought up again, and if you've never seen Peanuts, this makes no sense. But for some reason, Snoopy likes to pretend that he is a World War I ace pilot, and he gets on top of his doghouse and he tries to shoot down the Red Baron. If you don't know what the Red Baron is, that's because schools don't teach you about the Red Baron anymore.
That's true.
So, back at the pumpkin patch, they keep showing, like, Linus is so sure that the Great Pumpkin's gonna show, and Sally is starting to slowly, like, get tired of his shit as it's becoming more and more clear. that it's probably not going to happen. So then we cut to the Halloween party where everyone's having a pretty good time. The number one World War I flying ace is there. He starts like Schrödinger starts playing like a tune on his piano, and Snoopy gets sadder or happier depending on how jaunty the tune is. And I don't understand it, but he's really into that song.
He's playing. It's World War I music.
Oh, is it? That would explain it.
Yeah.
I think he's crying over his losses of World War I.
Yeah, the tragedy he suffered through in World War I.
Exactly. So then finally, we cut back to Linus, and Sally is like going, "Where the fuck is the Great Pumpkin? You promised me the Great Pumpkin." And he's not here. And then he goes, "Oh no, he's here." And then we see a silhouette, and we think, "Oh shit, is that the Great Pumpkin?" Nope, it's just Snoopy in his fucking World War I outfit. And then I think at this point, Sally gets tired and beats on Linus for saying, "You've basically ruined my entire night, and you've ruined the greatest night for a child, which is Halloween night, where you could go trick-or-treating and get food." So she leaves him, but Linus is so insistent that he has to wait for the Great Pumpkin, that even when he's like gonna badmouth her, he stops and goes like, "Oh no, if the Great Pumpkin hears this, then that'll be enough for me not to be considered sincere." So he continues to wait until it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and Lucy basically drags his sleeping ass back into his own bed, and he's home, and he never saw the Great Pumpkin. So then Charlie Brown and Linus talk about their night, and talk about how Linus didn't see what he wants. Charlie Brown tries to help him by saying, like, "You did a stupid thing," but that's what happens. And that doesn't work on Linus, who gets extremely angry, and the short ends as he starts yelling about how great the Great Pumpkin is, and how you're all gonna regret it when he comes back. And he has the most annoyed face, and it literally goes as the credits are rolling. He's just like verbatim beating him down, the only person trying to help him, and he just like is insistent. And if you listen close enough and you replace Great Pumpkin with Jesus, you can hear the allegory just screaming. And
That's true.
It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. So Zen, what are your thoughts on It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown?
It's a cute movie. I guess it's a movie. It's 25 minutes, so I don't know what qualifies as a movie and what doesn't.
Back then, that was pretty like phenomenal for like an animated thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily the best part of the movie is that it keeps cutting back to Snoopy fucking wandering the countryside because he got shot down by the Red Baron somehow. For those of you that don't know, the Red Baron was considered like the ace of World War I on the German side. He was like their best pilot.
Yes, he was.
So Snoopy is trying to fight him. He's trying to shoot him down, and the Red Baron shoots him down, and he fake crashes his fucking doghouse into like just somewhere, and it keeps cutting to them like doing shit, like they're out like enjoying their night and shit. And then it keeps cutting back, and it plays the same music every time. And it's just like the silhouette of Snoopy against the moon trudging through a fucking, like, trenches.
They basically, like, Snoopy's parts are like a World War I movie. Like,
yeah, it's extremely weird.
It is extremely weird, and it somehow fits with the entire, like, Halloween, like, for as much as It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown is supposed to be about Halloween, 1/3 of it is dedicated to this World War I bit.
Yeah, almost all of Snoopy's parts in the movie are him just like, it's literally like the moon, and then you just see like the silhouette of him walking across a like giant field trying to get home because he got shot down.
Yep, and even when he does make it home, like, he still gets like freaking shot down by what is her name? I'm so sick right now. Lucy. No. Is it Lucy? Yes, Lucy. Like, the Lucy's always, like, that's the running bit every time, like, she gets close to Snoopy, she needs a disinfectant.
Oh, yeah, because he licks her, yeah.
Yeah, well, this time he's, like, bobbing for apples, and she was doing it at the same time, and she's like, same dog water, and it's like, come on, Lucy, how far is your hate? There's a lot of people in that water. That dude just literally fought in World War I. Give him a fucking break.
He fought the Red Baron for you. Back off.
What happened to respecting the veterans? The veteran that is
Yeah,
Snoopy.
Yeah, I mean, the Charlie Brown portions are pretty standard Charlie Brown fare, where, like, even though Charlie Brown is the only normal person, everyone still is a huge dick to him for no reason.
Yeah.
He's like the only one that's aware that everything they're doing is extremely stupid.
Yes, and I think that's the reason why Charlie Brown gets constantly shot down. Is that he's too aware for his times. Like, there's the part, they also show, I didn't mention it, but there is a part with the football. Just because apparently you can't show Charlie Brown and Lucy without bringing up the football. But it does help, like, if you've never seen anything with Peanuts, you see that football bit and you know Charlie Brown is just constantly shit on.
Yeah, the football bit is like the Peanuts bit that everybody knows.
Yeah. To the point where, like, it's kind of expected, no matter what you're doing. That also means
pretty much.
I think Lucy just kind of brings a football with her every single point. She's like, I'm gonna get that motherfucker today.
And it works every fucking time.
Yeah, if anything, Charlie Brown is like that dude who constantly puts up the rock and then it falls over. That's Charlie Brown's existence. And even in his
at this point, it's his fault, really.
At a certain point, you have to start doing a little bit of victim blaming on Charlie Brown.
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta start taking some responsibility, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe there's a certain optimism to Charlie Brown. Some kind of naivete of a child where he believes that if he does the things, that eventually people will just warm up to him.
And one day they won't need him.
Yeah, there's gonna be a day where Charlie Brown will have his moment and he'll be the most respected person in the block, and that's never happened.
No.
Spoilers,
No.
This thing has been running since the 60s, and not once has Charlie Brown ever gotten any form of respect.
No, everyone kind of shits on him no matter what. Isn't there one girl that, like, has a crush on him, but she's not in this movie?
Peppermint Patty?
That's the one, yeah.
I mean, she has, like, a strained relationship with who she calls Chuck, because even if she likes Charlie Brown, she still can't get his name right.
That's true. She can't refer to him as Charlie Brown. Maybe it's like a status thing, like she can't say that it's Charlie Brown, so she says Chuck so nobody asks.
Yeah, that might be better. You know? Man, and here's the other thing, is that I really like about Peanuts stuff, which is so weird. Peanuts is, like, the weirdest comic strip ever imagined, because for its time, it does try and tackle some really weird subject matter, and then they hide it under the guise of, like, well, this is what it's really about, but hey, it's just a bunch of kids talking about the Great Pumpkin. It's very hard for you to watch the Linus stuff and not think about, like, this is kind of like a religious allegory. Even, like, it finally, like, delivers it home at the end when he's just, like, going nuts. When someone, like, questions him, is like, maybe you shouldn't believe in it after, you know, you were kind of waiting for and you were promised. And it's like, no, fuck you. I'm gonna dig deep. This is who I am, and I'm gonna be waiting
and
for the goddamn
there's
pumpkin.
a lot of it, too. It's like, it's not just that. It's like when he says that I'll put a good word in for you if the Great Pumpkin ever comes, and then he panics because he said if, not when, which means that he might have shown indecision, which might mean he's not gonna get the favor of the Great Pumpkin anymore.
Exactly. Like, he constantly has... It is kind of like... I guess in a more modern version of this, the Great Pumpkin actually does show up for him, and it turns out to be like a magical night. And in here, it's actually like, no, Linus has maybe one of the shittiest nights in Halloween history.
Yeah, he just is like out there freezing his ass off the entire night.
Yep. The only other person there that was supporting him has, like, basically been browbeaten to the point where she doesn't believe anymore.
Yeah, what's
Sally.
her name?
Sally?
Sally? Yeah. That's Charlie Brown's sister, right?
Yes, it is. Which
yeah,
at one
she's
point,
super into him.
Which at one point, when Linus starts talking about the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown accuses Linus of, like, trying to brainwash his sister. Which is really funny. The idea of, like, this is how kind of... He's basically turned into, like, a religious fanatic over the Great Pumpkin. He just believes in him so much and wants him to be so right, and it's just never happened for him.
Yeah, so, I think does he realize that it's Snoopy at the end?
Yes, that because he's with Sally, and then it's eventually shown that like.
Oh right, it's Snoopy, and that's why she leaves because she's annoyed that it ends up not being real.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. This is a real fun one to just kind of watch in Halloween. Out of all the Halloween specials, this one is maybe the most like. It's kind of built to be able to be watched and kind of go like, oh yeah, and then you can either think about it or you can not. Like that's easy the best way to think about it. It just kind of happens to you. Yeah.
I mean, you definitely. It's not beating you in the face with anything. It's just a fun little Halloween movie.
Yeah.
That kind of goes crazy with Snoopy in World War One for a little bit.
Yeah, that's maybe the one thing you could maybe try and look into. That's maybe the craziest thing about this entire special is the World War
My favorite part is the Snoopy shit.
No, I think it fits perfectly well in there. Just because, like... Actually, I don't know how to explain it. It just really works.
Yeah, I think if you saw the visuals, you'd know why it works as well as it does. Because it works really well, and I think a lot of it is just, like, the presentation. Yeah,
and the animation is pretty good. Like, Charlie Brown has a very simple art style, so the best thing that they can probably do is, like, try and at least evoke some kind of feeling, and it does feel like Halloween when you watch it. Like, the colors and such are nicely done, and like you said, there's the images of Snoopy walking in, like, a meadow, trying to get back home.
Yeah, he's just trying to get home, because he got shot down in the war.
Yeah, and they're able to evoke that and, like, be able to like transition between the Halloween stuff in that very well.
Yeah, and then the music is good, you know, especially considering it's an animated short that is largely for kids. Yes. It's got good music. It's got good. I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm just gonna default. Not. I think I'm just gonna default back to presentation. Yes. Everything's planned out very well, and it's very like. Obviously, it's not a super complicated. Movie or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's very well presented and they do a really good job with what they have.
You can tell that the people who made it cared.
Yeah.
As weird as it sounds, like they did care a lot about Charlie Brown and trying to make just like they had the simple material, but they're like, we're gonna do our best to present it in the nicest way possible, wrap it up in a nice little bow. Happy Halloween.
Pretty much, yeah.
It doesn't try and go like any crazy dimension. Like there's no point where like Linus enters a different dimension and he has to fight. He has to fight like creatures. It's nothing like that. It's very much like this is just a bunch of kids hanging out, and this is kind of the. Even though like at my like maybe this times were different in 1966 America, but when I was their age, I was not out fucking partying after trick or treating.
No, I did not go out and party when I was like, how are they, like middle schoolers?
I think they're still in elementary, aren't they?
I don't know Charlie Brown's age.
That's actually a very good question. How fucking old are you, Charlie Brown?
Hang on, I'll look it up.
Yeah, because Charlie Brown to me looks like he can be like maybe 10, if anything else.
Let's see. Birthday? There's a whole article on Wikipedia about it.
Told you, man. Peanuts people.
Serious shit.
Don't fuck around with Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown began in 1950 when he was only 4 years old, but aged over the next 2 decades. He was 6 years old as of 1957, and 8.5 years old by 1973. So he was probably
7.
So he's roughly 8 years old. Later references peg Charlie Brown's age as a consistent 8 years old.
Okay, so he's 8 years old and he's out having a fucking party. I think this is also because, like, Charlie Brown lives in, like, the Children of the Corn world, where all the parents are just kind of okay with their kids doing whatever they want.
Well, yeah, and that's Charlie Brown is the one where all the adults sound like fucking retarded, right?
Well, I wasn't gonna say that far. They all go like, wah, 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 wah,
yeah, they're like no one even pays. Like you can't even understand what they say, except somehow the kids do.
Yeah, like that's always the bit where Charlie Brown goes like, "Yes, ma'am." Wah, 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 wah. You want me to do what? And then wah, 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 wah. They're like the longest scenes ever, because the joke is like you only get like half the conversation. But yeah, that's the Charlie. It's a great pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Check it out. It's probably playing somewhere near your TV if you're in America. Just like switch it to ABC and maybe it'll be playing.
There, maybe at least on Halloween. It's like gonna be on loop, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's actually just a channel dedicated called the Schultz Network.
It's just like that and the A Christmas Story or whatever it's called, the You'll Shoot Your Eye Out Kid movie. That shit is perpetually on.
Oh, well, yes, that movie is on, but on Halloween night?
No, not on Halloween night. It's just one of the holiday specials that ends in like a never-ending loop.
Yeah.
Whenever you get to the holiday.
Which, when I was a kid, I thought like was a pain in the ass because I kept maybe it's because I looked at that kid. I'm like, fuck this kid. I hate him already. I don't like looking at his face every Christmas. Getting a gun and then immediately shooting himself in the eye. Like,
yeah, he was a little dick the whole time, and then they were totally right.
You know, that movie is like anti-kid in every single imaginable way.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like
it's literally like, hey parents, don't your kids fucking blow?
Yeah, aren't kids like sucky people? And then also look at this kid, you give him what he wants, and he fucking shoots his eye. Told you, kids suck, parents rule. Like,
go parents.
That movie may as well end with like a firework festival dedicated to parents. That's how in deep it's in with Big Parent.
Big Parent. That's true.
Oh man, yeah. I felt. Oh, you know what? I was gonna say something else. This is the final thing I want to say. I just want to say it's very sad that we lost Charles Schultz's house in the Great California Fire that was this year.
Did we? I did not know that.
Yeah, there was a fire. There's been a shit ton of fires in California, but recently one of the houses that was lost in the fire was the Schultz house where he wrote a lot of the Peanut stuff, and that kind of sucks. Because,
yeah, that's a piece of history going right there.
Yeah, like that dude made up like this enjoyable stuff, and now fucking fire took it away because California is constantly on fire.
Yeah, California is frequently on fire.
I can confirm. One time I looked out my window and I thought Godzilla had attacked us. So, dedication to that house. So now, I think we can move on. Unless you have any other final thoughts on It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
I feel like everyone has probably seen this, but if you haven't, you should watch it. I know you're going to look at it and think it's stupid, but it's actually... It's pretty cute. It's a good way to spend 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's cute. Like, even if you don't find it funny, like, I find it funny because... I don't know. Charlie Brown is the most... there's like a Schadenfreude like effect when you see all the bad stuff happen to these kids, and you kind of go like, I can kind of relate to that. But also...
Charlie Brown was Ed, Edd and Eddy before Ed, Edd and Eddy came out.
Yeah, kind of like a less gross version of Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you ever watched Ed, Edd and Eddy and were like, this is kind of too gross, then watch Charlie Brown, because it's kind of the same effect.
Yeah, it's pretty much perfect for what you want.
Alright, so Zen, let's talk about the other parts of Halloween, other horror movies. We weren't able to get to the one, as I mentioned.
I like how you said other horror movies, like The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown is a horror movie.
I'm pretty sure it's classified, you know, there's some horror movies that aren't scary and like are considered.
That's true.
Like...
Snoopy got fucking shot down over enemy territory. That's terrifying.
Exactly. What's more scary than like being a World War I pilot and then being stuck behind enemy lines? We've made entire movies dedicated to that premise.
That's true.
But yes, other horror / Halloween type affairs. Talk about some of your favorite horror stuff.
So horror movies for me are kind of weird because they always play on the fact that whoever is like the protagonist / victim in a horror movie has to be extremely stupid for it to work most of the time.
That's true.
I usually go more with like not really monster movies, you know, I'm not like watching Dracula and shit.
I was about to say Godzilla.
Well, I did watch Godzilla when I was younger. But no, I would say I lean more toward like zombie movies. Like I'm a big Romero fan. I like pretty much everything he did. Rest in peace. He died this year.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing.
Yep. Like I recently saw Night of the Living Dead. Good movie. Very good movie.
I still need to see it.
I can't believe you haven't seen it. You of all people.
Yeah, considering how I constantly talk to Cornell about old-ass movies, and I myself watch old-ass things, it's kind of surprising I've never seen it.
It's like a 1968 zombie movie. I can't believe you haven't seen it.
Also,
all humans.
I was about to call it free to play, but it's free, because it's in the public domain.
Yeah, it's free to play, yep.
Yeah, it's not like one of those pay-to-win horror movies you got in the theaters right now.
Yeah, it's not like Paranormal Activity.
Exactly, or
it's free to play.
Or Jigsaw, or It. All those pay to win. But you were saying zombie movies? Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty frequently, like, social allegories, which is nice in and of itself. I mean, you know, you gotta have some depth to it. But they don't... It's another one of those genres where, like, if you're not picking up on it, or you just don't give a shit about it, you can still enjoy it. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Like, there's a bunch of stuff in... Not in Night of the Living Dead, it's Day of the Living Dead? The one set in the mall?
It might just be Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead?
I think it might just be Day of the Dead, but I think there might be a Day of the Dead and a Day of the Living Dead.
There's also the, my culture's holiday called Day of the Dead.
Oh, it's Dawn of the Dead.
There we go.
It's the mall, yeah.
I was completely wrong.
It's close.
But yeah, Dawn of the Dead is the one that's set in the mall, and that one's supposed to, you know, kind of be an allegory for how, at the time, people were kind of like zombies with all the walking around the malls and stuff. And that worked for it back then, but if you're just watching it and you don't pick up on any of that, then it's just an extremely, like, cool setting for a movie. It's like, oh yeah, like, if you were
it's
to
just
be...
dudes in a mall trying not to get fucking murdered by zombies.
Exactly. And that also gave us, like, Dead Rising, because Dead Rising was 100% just like a copy of that idea.
It's certainly a very heavy homage.
Yeah, okay. That's a nicer way of saying it.
Yeah, it's a polite way to say it. But yeah, so Night of the Living Dead is like the big one, like the first one that kind of made it, and people fucking, man, there was some serious blowback on that movie when it first came out. Because it was like hyper violent, and it was like, I mean, for the time, like nowadays you don't even give a shit. That's like nothing. But back then it was crazy.
Sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it not only had that, it also had something that was pretty rare for back in the day, where it was like a black protagonist.
Yeah,
like,
he was the lead.
Yeah, he was the lead, and like, because even though I know a lot about this movie having never seen it, I'll just say, like, there's a lot of stuff in it where it's like, there's a part where he catches, like, you know, there's that iconic thing with, like, Barbara, and then, like, he like, they team up at some point, but then, like, he doesn't, like, treat her nicely at all. He's, like, slapping her around, trying to go, like, you need to get your shit together.
Yes.
Which is the right way to go. Like, yeah, come on, I'm sorry that you just had this traumatic event, but also, I don't think you've noticed the fucking dead have raised.
Yeah, the fucking dead have risen, and they're everywhere. So, I don't want to be like, because you haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to be like, I guess it's a zombie movie, so there's like not that much plot detail to it. But basically, it kicks off with two people going to like a graveyard. I think they're visiting a headstone of one of their parents. I think it's their dad.
Yes, I think, yeah, that's correct.
And then, holy shit, fucking zombies are there. The girl gets attacked, and she doesn't really get it at first, and zombies, of course, aren't a big thing, so I guess at the time, they weren't a big thing, so, like, it would take you a minute, but, they run away, and then they find, a farmhouse, and holy shit, the people in the farmhouse are fucking dead, and then there's just zombies all over the place, and it's, like, one of the first movies, like, there's so many video games built off this premise, like, what's that video game where you're a farmer, and zombies show up, and you have to, like, run to the safe city.
Shit, that is a lot of... Where you're a farmer?
Yeah, you're the main character, and you're a farmer. And I think it literally might be, like, a video game based off Romero stuff. Because, like, you're walking around, and there's a guy in your yard, and he's just standing there, and you're like, I gotta go get him out of my yard. And then he's this is literally how it opens.
I was about to say, is this Shaun of the Dead? There's a girl in the yard?
Well, I think Shaun of the Dead is obviously pretty heavily Romero as well.
obviously.
But there's like a guy standing in the yard, and the farmer's like, "Why get out of my yard?" And then he turns around and he's a fucking zombie.
Are you talking about Red Dead Nightmare?
No, I'm not talking about.
Because I was going to say that sounds exactly like at that point, like Marston has kind of cleaned up and he's with his family, and then that kind of starts the exact same way.
Awesome game, though, by the way.
It has one of the greatest lines ever, where after Marston's family gets bit, he's talking to both of them, goes like, "Now I want you two to look after each other." They're both already zombies.
Yeah, they're like already zombies, and he leaves them a plate of food.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you here this plate of food. Like, Marston's the most, like, straightforward zombie protagonist I've ever seen, in terms of, like, alright, this is happening, I guess. Stay nice.
Yeah, Undead Nightmare is great for anyone that likes Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I can't think of the game's name. Shit. Anyway.
What was it released on?
I think it was like PC, like early PC, like when Halo 1 era.
Ah, damn. That's unfortunate. Like, literally the one, like, non-gaming thing I'm not familiar with is literally, like, PC games. So
I mean, the only reason that I know about it is because we all had it on our fucking laptops at school.
Wow. But either way, you're saying, like, the Romero stuff, like, influenced a lot of things, including...
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much built, like... People think of zombie stereotypes, and a ton of them come from this movie. I mean... I guess I can't think of a better way to say it than that, basically. That if it weren't for this movie... I mean, you think about zombies, and they're fucking, like, all of popular culture now, you know?
Yeah, kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, it's wild how much of popular culture is, like The Walking Dead, which isn't even a good show, and it's been on for, like, 48 seasons.
Yeah, I'm still at that farm, just hanging out, being buddies.
They made it off the farm, I think,
Did
finally.
they?
Yeah, they did.
Because they didn't make it up the farm.
Yeah, that's about when, like, 50% of the people stopped.
There's only so much farm shit. Imagine how... If they had just left that farm by episode 2, how many more people would be into The Walking Dead?
Yeah, that's a good point. And like, the movie kind of pulls off of I Am Legend, but not the terrible Will Smith one. The actual original one.
Awesome Vincent Price one.
I think it was a book.
It
any
was
of
a
that
book.
stuff.
I know. I just like that there is a Vincent Price version of I Am Legend, which is actually pretty good. You know, a lot of people will laugh at Vincent Price because he's a horror icon, but the man did some good work, damn it.
I have not seen Vincent Price's
He was the head in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. The man deserves your fucking respect.
Oh man, Scooby-Doo was another good one we could have done.
Fuck! Oh well. We'll save that for another day, because I got a lot of shit about Scooby-Doo.
Okay. We'll put Scooby-Doo on the back burner.
Exactly.
But basically, they get away from the zombies, they get to a farmhouse, and there's other survivors there at the farmhouse, and it's just them trying to make it through the night. And, you know, it's got the stereotypical, like, okay, we're safe in this farmhouse for right now, but some people aren't taking it too well, and then, oh no, they got bit, are they gonna turn, that kind of shit. It's like, it's everything that you consider a zombie cliche now, except for the first time.
But fresh at the time.
Right.
It truly was a pioneer of its time, because there were, like, obviously the idea of a zombie, like, has been around since, like, those freaking, like, zombie, which are, like, the voodoo version of what a zombie is, which is...
Yeah, the voodoo, it's like voodoo possession.
Yeah, the like, that, there was always that kind of zombie, and then there were always the idea of, like, people walking back for coming back, but it wasn't until that movie where it kind of became, like, we had, like, our own word for it, and we were like, okay, this is a zombie movie.
Yeah, and I believe this is either the first or one of the first things to make it an illness, where it was like the plague.
Yeah.
Where before, it was usually like a magical thing.
Yes, before then it was a voodoo man casting some kind of spell on you.
It's like Indiana Jones style, like.
Yes, kind of, basically. Yeah. A shaman of some kind would show up and go like, "Woo-woo-da." He'd basically do the mumbo-jumbo magic from Banjo-Kazooie.
It's the mask from Crash Bandicoot.
Oh,
basically, is what happened.
Yeah, basically one of those dudes would show up and they would throw powder on you and you were a zombie.
Yeah. But that was like hypnotized possession kind of thing, whereas this is like they're actual corpses that are being reanimated by some kind of fucking crazy shit. And then at the end of this movie, the only guy who lives, sort of, is the lead. Everyone else gets fucked up, for the most part. And then there's a posse clearing out all of the zombies because they've managed to turn it around and quell it. That's why it's just the Night of the Living Dead, because it's just one night. But they, quote-unquote, confuse him for one of the zombies and they shoot him. And I recall there being a lot of debate on whether or not the extremely racist southern mob thought he was a zombie or just took the chance to kill him because he was black.
Huh.
Yeah, I recall that being discussed. I don't know if that is actually true or not.
It's left ambiguous to
up.
let the people decide, right?
Right, but basically, there's a mob that clears everything out, and it looks like the protagonist is going to make it, and nope, he gets shot in the head because they are killing everything, basically, that they think might be a zombie. So he actually survived the night, and then they shoot him. And then the movie ends with them burning all of the zombie bodies, and they throw the dead protagonist on top of the very first zombie.
It's a fucked up way to go.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, that's a very shitty fate. That's Charlie Brown. That would happen to Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown would come out of the safe house and be like, "Oh man, I made it," and then Lucy would be with the gun shooting him down. Got him all.
She totally would. That's exactly what would happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why that movie, like, is kind of like the standard. It is the godfather of all zombie movies. Like, it got the bummer ending, it's got the zombie stuff, it's got everything you would basically want before any of the other stuff ever came out.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much shaped horror popular culture for a very long time.
It also is the reason why we have zombie movies, because they fucked up and never, like, put it onto the reason why it's in the public domain and everything is because they never, like, registered it. But that ended up working out, because then people looked at it and could see it, and then they'd be like, oh, we can just make a zombie movie like that. And so, like, something, whatever was it's inside created it, it was able to make other people to just be like, no, these are zombies. Or if they had actually, like, trademarked it, then I think Romero would have just plainly owned zombie, but because he doesn't, zombies are in, like, the public domain.
Yeah, it's like a popular culture buzzword.
Yes. And
instead of them having to make up some sort of other thing for it, as opposed to it being like a Romero property.
Exactly. And that would be a very different world if, like, only one person had any access to zombies.
Yeah, then everyone else would be saying that stupid shit from The Walking Dead. Was it like walkers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we'd be stuck with. We'd get trademark zombie.
We'd get, basically just, like, stuff like that.
And it's interesting in that, this was, like, one of the last movies to get put out before, I think, the film rating system. Yeah. So, like, you know, a lot of little kids go see horror movies and stuff, and they got fucking blindsided.
No, I would imagine that shit would be like, especially because it's in black and white, and if you were back then, you're thinking like, oh, black and white, it can't be that bad. And then you see it and you go like, holy shit. This blew my 10-year-old mind.
Yeah, like, this movie is genuinely, like, I'm not gonna say you're gonna be sitting there being, like, horrified or anything, but it's legitimately, it's a scary movie.
It's true to the horror roots.
Yeah, well, because it starts off as, like, eek, zombie, and they run away, and they're like, oh my god. But, like, when they're all sitting around the house, and they have everything boarded up, and zombies are starting to break through, and they're, like, panicking and turning on each other, like, shit gets scary, man.
Especially because, like, obviously we've seen that enough in popular culture where it's like, oh, people freak out, and then, like, obviously we would fight against each other. But honestly, that's still true today, where some shit was bearing down my door and I was filled in a room with strangers. I would immediately start lashing out at them because I assume they're gonna try and get me killed in some way. One false move and we're all fucked. And that's basically what they're dealing with.
Pretty much, yeah.
This is a life or death situation. I need you to stop fucking crying in the corner.
Yeah, to put in perspective for the time, as how crazy it was, this was referred to as pornography of violence and an orgy of sadism.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
An
rough.
entire orgy?
An entire orgy of pure sadism. So,
Like,
yeah.
You get lucky to get a horror movie even mentioning that today.
Yeah. That would be... People would love to drop that on, like, their... What did NBC say about our movie title card nowadays?
They're all just waiting to put up that trailer with, like, Rotten Tomatoes scored 75% and also a sadism by Satanists or something.
Yeah, some shit like that.
They're waiting for it. Man, yeah. It's crazy.
And yeah, this movie made like $15 million in the 60s.
Yeah, that's a shit ton of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of fucking money.
Also considering that horror movies are not, like, they're cheap already. Like, that's the one thing why we get so many is because they're cheap to make and they easily make back their money.
Yeah, Paranormal Activity, they make that shit for like $36 on like an iPhone camera.
Yeah, like whatever the director has in his pocket, and he's just like... and a bunch of unpaid, like, VFX artists.
Yeah, just some people that are desperate for a job.
Exactly, which is all of us.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all of America at this point.
And they're made super cheap, so $50 million back then is ridiculous. It would be like a summer blockbuster hit, I think.
15, not 50. 1-5.
My bad, 15. I said 15,
Still a lot, though.
My nose.
Oh, did you? It sounded like you said 50.
Yeah, sorry about that. You know, the cold.
Let me try to figure out what that would be today.
What 15 would be today? No,
Okay, so $1 million in 1960 is $8 million today.
That was both me, that surprise, and the cough.
So that movie made... Jesus fuck, there's not even commas in this, so I don't even know what that is. Like $120 million.
Yeah, that's definitely worth it.
And I don't know what the budget for it was, but I can't imagine it was very much.
I'll say we'll give it like a good, maybe 1,000.
Oh, here it is. The budget was $114,000.
Okay.
And it made $15 million.
That's a huge return.
So talk about your return, yeah.
It's pretty good. Not since Paranormal Activity has there been such a crazy ass return on a horror movie.
Yeah, but to be fair, again, Paranormal Activity, I think they made that for like $36 and some Apple Jacks.
Yeah, just like someone put up like one of those. Someone got a zip wave that just said spooky noises, and then they put the fast forward button on a camcorder.
Yeah, I mean, even the virtual effects are just like black out the hallway so they can't see that there's another guy in there dragging the girl out of the room.
Yeah, and to be fair, I do think like later on, I have not seen them. I have not seen Paranormal Activity 5, but I do think they go into a ghost world. And at one point, one of them does use the Microsoft Kinect as a spooky camera.
That's amazing. And
Yes,
found footage. This is a whole other rant that I don't want to go into.
Yeah,
but
go
that
ahead. They're not
shitty.
For
they suck. Yeah,
it's not for everyone.
It can be done well, and it almost always isn't.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is that for every time it's done well, every time there's people trying their best, there's like at least 15 other people not doing their best.
Yeah, well, because like you have stuff like the Blair Witch Project, which was like incredible and really well done. And then you have shit like Cloverfield, that I know people like that movie. I fucking hate Cloverfield.
Cloverfield makes like no sense to me.
It makes absolutely no sense, and it's literally just like they're just running and shaking the camera all over the place. And it seems like they watched
Blair
Witch Project, and they were like, that's cool, and they totally didn't understand why it was popular.
Yeah, they did a much better job in the other Cloverfield movie in terms of recreating a horror movie type and doing something with it than they did with that first Cloverfield. Because, I don't know. And also, like, found footage for what I think... Like, they tried to go for horror, but I always thought, like, it should have been a giant kaiju movie. It would have been finally, like, an American trying to do a kaiju movie, but then they never actually did it. It was just, like, this weird, like, American alien that looks exactly like almost every other American alien in the 2000s.
Yeah, and plus, like... So here's... It's like... Kaiju aren't scary.
What are we talking about? Anguirus is fucking terrifying. Have you seen that?
See, to me, growing up as a kid, Kaiju was like... the early, like, it was like almost anime. Like, it was just cool to watch them fight. Like, I never considered, oh my god, Godzilla's fucking up the town. That's horrifying. It was just like, oh shit, Godzilla's fucking up the town. It's fucking sweet. Like,
that's the funny thing, is that the first Godzilla movie is actually a horror movie, and then every other Godzilla is not, except for the most recent one. Not the American one, the Japanese one, which is similar to the first one in that it tries to be more about, like, the horror of Godzilla.
Of a giant, like, I think it's because maybe for me, like, when it comes to a horror element type thing, is it can't be a giant monster.
You feel like you can't be scared by giant monsters?
I'm sure if there was one in real life, I'd be shitting my pants, but it's
no doubt. Like, if there was a giant fucking Godzilla out my window, my first reaction would not be, holy shit, fuck up the town. It would be, god damn it, leave me alone. Yeah,
I'm sure I'd be stressed off my ass, but, like, something about, like, a horror movie to me needs to be personal in some way, not like what is equivalent to a national disaster. Like, a giant monster is a hurricane with a face on it. And to me, that's not scary. Like, I'm sure Florida disagrees.
Yeah.
But, like,
it's one of those things of, like, it depends, really. I guess if you're scared of that kind of idea of of nature, then I think those
where
movies
it's just
are
like something beyond your control, and then that's like scary in and of itself. And I can see that. It doesn't really do it for me. For me, it's like it has to be some sort of personal element to it for me.
Did you ever see Shin Godzilla, the new one?
The Japanese new one? I did not.
Not to spoil too much if you don't want to know anything about Shin Godzilla, but there is a part of it where something comes out of the water, and you go like, oh, I think this is the thing Godzilla's gonna fight later on, and then 5 minutes pass and you go, what the fuck, that's Godzilla? What the fuck is that? Holy shit! And then, like, you're kind of disgusted for a while, and then you go like, oh my god, this is sick. What have they done? Oh my god. The fuck is
now
that?
I feel like I have to watch it.
That was the closest I ever came to going, I need to kill what's ever on my screen. For that moment
I
alone.
watched the American Godzilla, which sucked, I think. I really didn't like it. A lot of people liked it.
Which one? The Matthew Broderick, That's a Lot of Fish?
No, the one with
with Kick-Ass.
Quicksilver. Yeah, Kick-Ass / Quicksilver.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I think I've heard. There's, like, a lot of stuff to criticize it. I think it was just nice to see Godzilla after such a long time. Like, the last one was...
you don't even really see him.
I know. That's the fucked up thing, is that...
He's in the movie for, like, 12 seconds.
That's also kind of, like, to me, which is why I was able to justify it, is that that's like a lot of Godzilla movies, where a lot of it is, like, humans talking about, what are the nature of Godzilla? We must do something about this. And then they go off, and then they get, like, the fucking tiny girls, and they're like, we can summon Mothra! He's like, Mothra? What is Mothra? And then they go off for, like, another 20 minutes, and then finally, at the end of the movie, Godzilla fights Mothra.
But, like, they don't even do that in this.
It's mostly those, like, weird Cloverfield-looking monsters.
Yeah, it's those two weird, like, whatever the fucks they are. They have a name, I don't remember what it is, because I don't care that much about them.
No, they're kind of generic and bad.
I don't know, they might literally just be called, like, the Kaiju or something like that. I don't... It's some stupid-ass name that they both share.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just like them fucking shit up, and then every now and again, someone looks at a TV, and it's like, holy shit, Godzilla's totally fighting this thing, but instead you're gonna look at Kick-Ass carry a kid around town.
Yeah, I think that movie got hurt by being too long. Like, that movie should have only been like an hour and 30 minutes. And it would have been much
your
better.
Parrot is so pissed off.
Yeah, because he's like, he fucking loves Godzilla.
Yeah,
he's over here.
He's defending Godzilla
so badly. What's the thing? I think Kong Skull Island did a better job of, like, being a giant kaiju, and he's not even a fucking kaiju. He's just a big dumb monkey, but he's a real good dumb monkey.
Didn't see that, but I heard really good things about it.
It's a much more fun movie, and also Samuel Jackson fucking wants to fuck up King Kong. Like, you've never seen a man before want to fight a monkey. That's
fair.
Glorious.
Although apparently the director for that movie is a big old bitch.
I've heard.
Yeah, did you see his thing where, like, some internet, I think it was CinemaSins, like, teased his movie and he, like, lost his shit?
And then he later on went on to some other thing that was criticizing Kong, and then he criticized it itself. It was so weird. Like, I can understand the idea of, like, being protective, but at a certain point you have to understand what the movie
That was CinemaSins when he did that. But he screenshotted everything they said, and then, like, critiqued their critique of him.
No, I mean, he then, like, went on and then, like, critiqued his own movie for something else. I want to say it's for Honest Trailers or something.
Maybe. Let's not talk about Honest Trailers. They're not... They're in some hot water right now.
Yeah, let's get back to what does matter.
Yeah.
Horror movies.
Right. Your turn.
Oh, my turn, yes.
I just did my zombie movies. Your turn.
You should check out some zombie movies. They're real good.
Specifically Romero movies, because I think that... Well, okay. Newer Romero kind of sucks, but there's a lot of genre shift in zombie movies as time passes.
There's also, there's one remake of, I think, Night of the Living... Not Night of the Living Dead. It might be Day of the Dead.
There's a remake... Like, there's definitely more than one Night of the Living Dead.
But the one by Tom Savini is real good. That's the one I saw. And it's... Tom Savini...
Which one is that?
I want to say it's the one that's also in the mall. But not the 2006 one.
Well, that's Dawn, but there is a remake of Night of the Living Dead that's newer.
Yeah.
But I don't know what year that was made in.
If you don't know who Tom Savini is, if you ever seen From Dusk Till Dawn, he's the guy with the cock gun. He's an extremely good special effects artist, and he's real awesome. So check out any stuff that he does, I'd say. The effects are really good, usually. So anyway, my stuff isn't Tom Savini stuff, so my relation to horror movies is this fucking parrot. It won't shut the fuck up.
He, like, the more you talk, the louder he gets.
Like, that thing hates me, I think. You know, I try and be nice to Kiko, and I think he finally calmed down. I think that meant my aunt finally went into the room to shut him up. Anyway, I love me some horror movies. There's a lot of stuff that you can find problematic with horror movies, and I can understand that, and I usually am okay with it, just simply because I choose to be okay with it. But my favorite genre is usually stuff that likes to, like, make fun of horror stuff, just because, like, I see it so much, and you see so much of the same tropes that, like, eventually, like, you need something to just kind of laugh at it. So, like, one of my favorites is Young Frankenstein, for that specific reason, because it takes the entire, like, Frankenstein series, and it's by Mel Brooks. Yes, it's Mel Brooks, who also made
You're not about to drop Scary Movie on me, are you?
No. I'm not going to drop Scary Movie. I like Scary Movie because it's a bad movie.
It's terrible. It's so bad.
If you want to talk about bad horror movies, like, it's right up there with Monos, The Hands of Fate, in terms of shitty horror stuff.
Well, Scary Movie's not even a horror movie.
No, it's not. It's technically, like, an excuse to hear, like, Oh Shit Son from one of the Wayans brothers.
Yep. Oh shit, son, I'm black, I'm gonna die first. And then they have, like, a Scooby-Doo run out of the room.
And then someone gets a penis through their head, which is how someone dies in the first Scary Movie. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. Young Frankenstein, which is the exact kind of opposite of that, is a good example of, like, taking all the kind of, like, things that are funny about Frankenstein and kind of, like, doing them again. It's probably one of my favorite of his movies. Like, it's either that or Blazing Saddles for me. But if you want something that's, like, I guess closest to, like, classy funny, I would go with that. And I'd give classy with, like, a giant fucking, like, quotes on it. Because it's a very silly movie. Other horror comedy stuff that I like to, like, see. This is a more recent one. There was a movie called Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which I really liked because it was, the whole idea of it was all the movies and all the, like, scaredness of, like, the South. What if we made a movie where the Southern guys were actually, like, decent people, and there was just it was all the events were caused by miscommunication. So it does, like, this great thing of, like, these two, like, kind of bumbling Southern dudes, and they're, like, seeing, like, a bunch of college kids, and they're like, "Hey man, you should go and talk to him." It's like, "I don't know what to do, Tucker," because there's two characters, Tucker and Dale. And he goes like, "Listen, man, you just gotta laugh and be with them." So he's like, "Alright, I think I get you." So he goes up to them and he's like, "Hey, college kids, what are you doing?" He does, like, the most worst laugh imaginable. And it clearly shows up, and these kids are, like, freaking out because they think they're in a horror movie. But then the person is like, "No, damn it, you did it wrong." And I think it's real fun, especially for like you're used. There's like a part where a character is like all the college kid sees is that like he's wildly swinging a chainsaw, but then from his perspective, it's because a bee was fucking gonna try and sting him. He accidentally like chainsawed off a bee's nest, and he was just being chased by bees. So like he starts like running in their general direction, and they think it's because they're trying to like cut him. And then, like, finally one of the kids is running, and they're running side by side, and the kid looks at him, he's like, wait, he's not coming after me at all? And then the kid's so preoccupied by looking at him running that he runs, like, stomach first into a hole, into a tree trunk, and gets impaled and dies.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, that's another, like, good, silly thing that likes to play off of, like, a lot of horror conventions. And that's also on Netflix, so if you got the time, check it out. And I think the most obvious one, another more classic kind of example. This one's maybe slightly more subtle, because when I first saw the trailers for it, I was not expecting it, and then I saw it in theaters, and I was like, this is kind of amazing, is Cabin in the Woods. Have you ever seen? Very good movie. Yes. Very good movie. Cabin in the Woods is about the idea of, like, it's basically playing on the idea of, like, this is what horror movies are, and this is what, like, a director does, and what other horror movie type things do. Like, there's a real good scene where, so I don't want to spoil it too much, but there is basically people kind of controlling certain events that these kids are getting into, and it plays off of the idea of just like, this is what horror does, this is why we do it, and this is kind of like why we need to do it. And it's real good. They have a real good joke about Japanese horror movies, which I think is hilarious. Especially if you've seen like a lot of movies like Ringu or Grudge.
Ringu?
I think that's what it's called in Japan, right? Ringu?
I don't know. Maybe
Grudge
is terrible.
Which one? The American, Japanese?
The Sarah Michelle Gellar one. I don't know. I've never seen the Japanese one.
Alright, fair enough. I've never seen the Japanese one either. I've only seen the
Sarah Michelle Gellar one's really bad.
It's Scary Movie 3. So both versions aren't amazing. And finally, the last one, which is kind of like, I want to say, maybe the most well-known of the, like, horror comedy genre. It's Evil Dead 2. Have you ever seen Evil Dead 2, Zen?
I have not seen Evil Dead 2.
Okay. Have you ever seen Evil Dead 1?
I have seen Evil Dead 1, yes.
Evil Dead 2 is a parody of Evil Dead 1.
Oh, God.
So Evil Dead 1, if you ever see it, it's actually, like, if you ever see Evil Dead 1 after hearing, like, about Army in Darkness and all the other kind of, like, horror stuff that Ash has been involved in, you kind of get surprised, because it's actually a pretty serious horror movie. Like, they don't try and, like, subvert anything, it's just straight up a horror movie, and that's fine, and that's cool. There's a lot of weird stuff in that movie, but then Evil Dead 2 basically takes that movie's idea, cuts out, like, half the characters, so only Ash and his girlfriend are in it, and then makes everything goes crazy, and it's basically like watching a man slowly become insane with time. Like, the Deadites aren't even trying to kill him, they're just trying to drive him insane. Like, there's a whole part where after he's already kind of dealt with his girlfriend, which gets turned into a Deadite and he has to unfortunately kill, there's like a subplot kind of going on, like, through the beginning of the movie. So, like, the first 15 minutes is just the plot of Evil Dead 1, and then it kind of continues. But there's, like, these people going to the woods, going to that specific cabin, because it's like, oh man, we need to go there, because my uncle was researching some stuff, and we need to check out his research notes. So Ash has been inside here slowly going crazy, and he's covered with blood, and then the room just starts, like, fucking with him. Because literally, like, he'll turn around, and then he'll hear, like, he starts hearing laughter, and it's because a deer with a head on, that was like its head on the mantle type of deal, starts looking at him and starts laughing. And, like, the deer's, like, all fucked up and deadite looking, and then he looks around the entire room, and the entire room is just laughing at him for some reason. Like, they're not even trying to kill him, they're just, like, literally laughing at him. So then, like, the entire camera just spins around, and he's just, like, freaking out, and then he just starts laughing too. So he's just, like, in the middle of this room laughing his ass off until finally he shoots his shotgun at the deer. And it's at this point that the two people that have come to the cabin will open the door and see Ash has been fucking doing all this by himself. So all they see is, like, a crazy bloodied man. And they go, like, okay, what the fuck did you do to my uncle? And he's just, like, trying to go, like, like they knock him out and then they put him in the basement, and as they're putting him in the basement, like he kept a Deadite in there, and he's just like, "Don't put me in the basement." And then they toss him in there, and it's great. It's like the most like balls to the wall, crazy ass movie, to the point where I think when we were coming up, you said like Night of the Living Dead was like a Wokey type movie.
Mm-hmm.
Evil Dead 2 is how I feel in a general sense. Where shit is just crazy and going off all the time, and there's blood everywhere, and it's also disgusting because it's Sam Raimi. I think if you include the Spider-Man movies, Evil Dead 2 is maybe my favorite movie of Sam Raimi's.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Sam Raimi's pretty fucking crazy dude.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy too, and I want to say Evil Dead 2 is the craziest he goes. And I say that saying that like Army of Darkness takes place in which the character from Evil Dead was transported into the past with a shotgun to fight skeleton men.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I would say definitely check out.
So you're talking a little bit crazier than like a Shaun of the Dead kind of parody.
Yes, like Shaun of the Dead at least is a parody, and it's like, but it stays fairly like grounded, which I think is like what kind of keeps Shaun of the Dead, like the reason why it's so good is because a lot of the stuff is very much human, and a lot of the stuff that happens in there you could see, like I could see totally someone fucking doing this, or like my dumbass friend is with me in the zombie apocalypse and he completely fucks up everything. And I think that's why Shaun of the Dead, but it's like a parody in the sense of like very straightforward, very British actually.
Yeah, extremely British.
Yes, very proper. Evil Dead 2 is maybe the most unproper slapstick Looney Tunes ass movie I've ever seen.
That's a very apt description of what it sounds like. Growing up Looney Tunes.
There's a part where he has to fucking fight his arm. And he has to, because his arm is turned evil. And he totally takes a fucking chainsaw and chainsaws off his arm. And that's why he doesn't have like any that's why he's missing one arm through it, and it's amazing. And that arm also I think comes back and keeps screwing things up. And if you ever like Evil Dead 2, I think you should totally see. And also if you've never seen the TV show, which I think is Ash versus the Evil Dead, that's also pretty good. But it does require seeing, I think, Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2 to see. I'm gonna assume you've also never seen that, right?
I'm sorry, say
Ash versus the Evil Dead?
I have not.
Okay. It's really funny. There's a lot of good things of like, they do the thing where it's like Ash is like the reluctant hero. And they keep building up to the fact like, okay, Ash is eventually one day going to grow up and be the hero that everyone expects, right? And then the final, like, the end of season 1 happens, and he's like fighting the big bad, and then halfway through it, he's like, wait. Let's make a deal. And then they're like, what? And then his friends are like, what? And then like his friends who have been like fucked up for the entire thing, and it's like, okay, I don't care what you do, I just want them to. So how about we make like a truce of some kind? And they're like, Ash, what are you doing? And then it totally ends with him just taking his friends, and he's perfectly okay, and he's just like, well, day is saved. And then his friends are like in the car with him, and they both have been horribly traumatized by what they just had to do, and they're just like looking at him like, I don't think that's what he was supposed to do. Like there's a definite feeling of like, is that the way this was supposed to shake out? Because it doesn't feel like it should have. So yeah, definitely check it out. That's why I really like horror comedy. I like stuff that plays off of horror movies, and I also like seeing in general horror movies. I get scared very easy as well. Just to let you know.
Really?
Yeah. Yesterday when I was going to go use the bathroom, I opened the door and I didn't expect my sister to be there, and she literally just looked at me and went, "Boo!" Like not even big or loud because it was late at night, and I literally went like, "Jesus fucking Christ!" Don't do that to me.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite with horror movies. They get like too many of them feel silly to me. That I'm like, I can't get into this.
No, yeah, I can definitely see that happening a lot. It's a thin line with horror movies. Like you have to either It's much like vampires. You have to let them in at
Yeah.
the door.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, I think that does it for the Spooktacular. This will be up on Halloween night, and someday we will get around to... By the way, just to let everyone know, the 2 secret other things I had planned were the Wishbone Halloween special and Keenan and Kel's 2 heads are better than none.
Jesus Christ.
But thankfully, we don't have to look for those.
That is... God almighty. The Wishbone thing is one thing, but Keenan... I think I actually remember that Wishbone special.
Yeah, I think that's the one where they do have, like, the Headless Horseman.
Yep. Yeah, they do Sleepy Hollow.
Yes. And in general, I wanted to talk about Wishbone, because what a fucking weird-ass, 90-ass show to do, where it's this dog.
And, like, it's a live-action dog.
Yeah.
And they just put a voiceover on him.
Yeah, like, at one point he did the Odyssey, and I was like, you know, this man has to go to a human woman at the end, and we have to be convinced that not only does he love her, he had a daughter with her.
You gotta read between the lines with Wishbone.
Exactly. There's a lot of, like... I thought you were gonna start talking about Between the Lions, which is another show about books turned into actual visuals. But maybe we'll deal with Wishbone later. Later on, we'll put stuff on the back burner. Keenan and Kel maybe next year.
Halloween Special 2, Keenan and Kel.
Keenan and Kel get hyped for next year. Howsu we'll definitely look at. Maybe next time it's my turn. And, what was the other thing I was going to mention? And Wishbone, no, Scooby-Doo. Maybe we'll save Scooby-Doo for some time later. Because I can...
Scooby-Doo has, like, 48 holiday specials, so it will get done at some point.
Yeah, at some point. We need to talk about all the... There's a bunch of old ones, and there's a bunch of newer ones. I would mostly want to focus on the older ones. Maybe talk about...
that's the Scooby-Doo I watch, so...
Yeah. There's the older ones, and then there's, like, the newer ones that started with, like, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, which is maybe the most fucked up Scooby-Doo movie. I think it was, like... rated...
I have seen that one. That's like, the most recent Scooby-Doo thing that I've seen.
I think that's the only Scooby-Doo movie to be rated PG-13.
Really?
Yeah, because of a lot of... I don't want to spoil people on Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
I'm sure they're torn up.
Exactly. So anyway... Let's do a preview of coming attractions. And what do we got next?
Oh yeah, I guess it's my turn next.
Mm-hmm. I think we know what you want.
Yeah, we're definitely doing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure next.
JoJo.
It's gonna be our second anime episode. We're only gonna do the animated ones. We're not gonna touch on the manga. I am reading it, but I don't want to. When you talk about an anime, I don't want to go into the manga because there's a lot of people that choose not to read it because they just want to wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah, I don't want to push people who watch the anime into not watching the episode because obviously JoJo has a pretty big fan base.
Now, yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, now it does.
After reading those manga in the dark and trying to tell people, like, let me tell you about Zeppeli and Speedwagon, and people would look at you like going, like, the fucking bands? Like,
yeah.
Ario Speedwagon and Led Zeppelin, you're not saying Zeppelin, right? I'm like,
God, I love that his name is Robert E.O. Speedwagon. It's so great.
The naming conventions of JoJo are what make it a lot of, like, really endearing. Which is kind of why I was able to put up with part 1 and kind of go, like, I see what you're going with here. I'll let you continue on. Weird.
I will definitely say I hated part 1 before I sort of settled into what JoJo is.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I kind of, like, adapted to how JoJo presents itself, part 1 is a lot better now. Yeah. Than it was before.
I still think, like, part 1 is the hardest thing to get through. Like, as someone who loves JoJo and, like, was reading it, I had to read fucking part 1. Imagine trying to read part 1.
The problem with part 1 is that it presents itself like all the other parts do, but it also takes itself completely seriously, which you can't do.
And it's not until, like, later on until maybe you start seeing, like, I'm not 100% sure if I was supposed to take this serious. Like, if it's maybe it hits you maybe as soon as it, like, kind of hits the midway point, where you're kind of going, like, I kind of question a lot of things that I've been doing. But then maybe...
Yeah, when Jack the Ripper comes out of a horse's body... and he's fucking, and he stabs himself in the face, and he's just like, "I'm gonna get you." And then they have this like magic wine that uses solar punches.
Yes. Oh, maybe one of the greatest things ever is in part 1. Not one of the greatest, but one of the greatest things about part 1 is there's a part where JoJo picks up a rock and like goes, "Look at how easily I can pick up this rock." And then like if you pause it, you're like, "JoJo, look at your buff fucking arms. You have the arms that could crush a calf's skull in half."
The best part about that scene is that if you watch the scene, there's no rock anywhere before he picks it up, and there's no rock anywhere after he stops holding it.
He just magically summons a rock.
It's not there before, and then he picks it up out of nowhere, and then when the rock is no longer part of the scene, it's just gone.
Oh. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to talking about JoJo.
Yeah. We'll do... You think we can do all 4 parts in one episode, or should we split it up?
We might do
2 and 2.
Yeah, we might do 2 and 2. Just because we'll see how we are. Because part 2 we're going to talk a lot about, I feel.
Yeah, like, plus there's a thematic shift between part 2 and part 3 that make 1 and 2 match better than and 3 and 4 match this carryover.
Yeah, no, that's what I feel too. And we'll definitely talk about that. And I want to thank you all for remembering to support your local concession stand.
Yeah, thank you for watching on this spookiest of nights.
Yes, thank you for also waiting. I swear I'm gonna stop being busy at one point.
Our schedules are just like not compatible, by God.
No, but I have the patience of a saint, and I will figure out a fucking way to do it. Just consider that there being a modcast or a concession stand a fucking miracle. Because if I was not there, they would not happen.
Just know that we like doing these, so we're gonna do them. It's just when we do them is a question.
Yeah. And now we have to wrap this up because I need to finish editing this before work.
Before Halloween.
Well, that too. I work tonight.
Also, Jesus Christ, it's been an hour and a half, and we started with Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin.